It is time for me to make an updated version of my keys to success for the Colorado Buffaloes this season. There have been some changes on the team, and as we get into August, it is very important for me to make it clear and simple of the things that I think that will make the Colorado Buffaloes successful this season. As you might imagine, I am very hopeful that things will go well this year. I am hopeful that we did everything that we need to do and that we're going to be ready to go in the Big 12. So my concerns about the Big 12, how I feel about anything doesn't matter today. I am only going to be talking about the things that I think that the Colorado Buffaloes will have to do. I am also going to just say this. All my other teams that I did this about, all my other teams, like two other teams, the Texas Longhorns and the Pittsburgh Steelers, all the other videos that I made, though, my teams had winning records. So this will be the first video that I'm making. Colorado was 4-8 last year. I can't act like they were not 4-8 when making this video. So because of their record last year and because I think that Colorado has the most to do to improve, I just went with position groups as a whole instead of focusing on individual players, because my assumption here is going to be that the stars that we know are the stars are going to play like stars and they're going to do their part. And if they do their part and the position groups do what they're supposed to do, I think we're going to be fine. So that is why this video might be slightly different from the other videos I've created. I honestly don't know the order that I'm going to release them. But depending on how I'm going to release those videos, if you catch that this video is a little bit different from those videos, that is why. So I just want to start with the obvious thing, our offensive line. The offensive line has to be good this year. I don't want to say they have to be great this year, but they have to be good and they have to be consistent. And if this offensive line group is consistent and gives Shedeur time, I think that they will be good this year. Now, I do want to say this. I don't expect our offensive line to be the best offensive line in college football. I also don't expect them to give up 50 plus sacks this year. I hope that they are better as a unit, and I hope that the depth of the offensive line is good enough to withstand whatever happens this year. And so if this offensive line is halfway better than they were last year, I think that we're on the right track. And I think if that's the case, Colorado will be a better football team than they were last year. So my first position group that I'm going to focus on that I think is going to determine the success this year is the offensive line. No one will be surprised that I'm going to say that. The second group that I'm going to say are the linebackers. I think the linebackers have to step up going into the Big 12. We all know the Big 12 can run the ball very well. The one thing that a lot of people don't mention when you talk about the Big 12 is the mobility of the quarterbacks that are in the Big 12. This is not to say that they have, the best, fastest guys at quarterback, but there's a lot of mobile quarterbacks in the Big 12. And a lot of times, the guy who is responsible for the quarterback is a linebacker. And so if our linebackers as a group do not play well this year, it's going to be a long season. I also hope that they understand gap integrity and that they are able to not only recognize where they're supposed to be, that they actually go make plays and they actually make tackles this year, because we all know last year tackling was a big thing. And so I hope this year our linebackers are ready to make plays, because they are going to be very important to everything Colorado does this year on defense. The other thing I'm going to mention, and I know it's going to kind of be an oxymoron because I'm talking about football, is going to be health. I know that there's going to be injuries because it is football. People get injured in football. What I'm hoping is that the strength and conditioning staff really shows up and shows out this year as far as injuries goes with Colorado. I know that everybody always talks about they're great, strength and conditioning is a perk, strength and conditioning is good, this, that, and the third. This year will be the year to see how great they are, because I think that the Colorado Buffaloes team, in my personal opinion, it seems like there could be some major drop-offs between the first guy and the second guy if the first guy gets hurt. So I'm really hoping this year that we don't have to see that. But if we do have to see that, the guy that comes in and is the backup, I hope that they're ready for the job. I hope that they're up for the challenge, and I hope that they do well. Yes, I know it's kind of weird that I have health on here. As somebody who feels like games are won really by the second guy that really comes in and makes a play, because usually what happens in football is, let's say your star goes down and is out 2 or 3 plays. The other team, if they're smart, they're going to attack the weakness of the guy who just went out, right? If your star goes out, the team's job is to attack that spot. And so if the guy that comes in that spot does not do well, it's not great. So again, I'm hoping that the overall health of Colorado this year is going to be good, is going to be consistent. I hope we don't have any major injuries that we have to deal with. If those injuries come up, though, I hope that the depth and the health of this team is okay. And I think that a good thing is that we have 2 bye weeks, so maybe that will help. But I just hope the overall health of the team this year is stable and is very consistent. I think that will be a bright spot. And final thing I'm going to say on my other videos, again, I don't know what order I'm going to release this. I always say there's 3 in a possible. So this actually probably should be my first thing or my second. But I will say I am very interested to see how the OC and DC do. And more looking for the defensive coordinator. I think Pat Schumer has called games before. Yes, he's called games in the NFL. Yes, the NFL is not college, but having that experience, being a head coach, having the just like overall experience of like how to prepare, how to call games, the pace of the games and things like that, being on the sidelines, like he's got that figured out. And he was with the team at the end of last year, actually calling plays and doing this job. So I have every confidence in the world that he will be fine. My biggest concern is actually Livingston. This will be the first time that he will be the play caller. This will be the first time that he will be the game planner. This will be the first time that he will be the guy making the adjustments. And I know we want to act like that is not a big deal, but it is actually a really big deal for a new coach to step in and to call an entire defense, especially a defense that wasn't good last year, and especially a defense that has so many players that are coming in that he has to get to know, that he has to familiarize himself with by watching different film from different teams. So he has to be able to come in and have a functioning defense, and he has to be able to execute. The other thing he has to be able to do very quickly is make adjustments. And I'm not talking about taking a few minutes to make adjustments. He's got to be able to make those adjustments quickly, and he's got to be able to make adjustments that make a difference, because that can literally be the difference between winning or losing a game. Livingston, to me, is going to be the most important piece of this entire puzzle, because he has to step up and he has to be, I don't want to say he has to be great, but he definitely has to be good. He cannot be below average, because if he's below average, the team will suffer. I hope that he is ready to go, and I hope that he knows what he's gotten himself into. I also want to comment and mention one other thing. The other thing that really worries me is we don't even know, and I know we're fans, so we don't have to know everything. It's you can't find his defensive scheme anywhere. And so whenever he is teaching and whenever the athletes are learning what he's doing, usually with coaching is your coach can show you specific examples of an adjustment that you made because of a reason. So I'm watching film and I'm like, hey, in this game, we were playing this team. And if you saw, they kept doing this. And what I did is I made X, Y adjustment. And this is how I made the adjustment. So, this is what I need you to do, similar to what I just showed you, because that was a play call that I did. Livingston doesn't have that. Not saying that he cannot coach. I'm just saying that there's a lot of tools that coaches usually use when they are teaching their team and when people are learning a scheme that he is not able to do. And so I just hope that as the season gets on and as things get going and as people see more film of Colorado and as teams start to adjust to Colorado, I hope that Livingston is able to adjust. Livingston might end up being the most important hire, in my opinion, because he's running an entire defense and he has to command that defense, and people have to respect him as a defensive coordinator, and he has to push back as a defensive coordinator. And God help us, I hope that we do not see any 12 men on the field this year on defense, because I might lose it if that happens. But let's just hope that everything happens the way that it's supposed to happen. And I hope that this year is the year Colorado turns it around. I hope this year is the year we're all dreaming of, and that we're hoping they're better, and that we're hoping they're consistent, and that we hope all of the things that we've went through this offseason show up and are able to be positive things as we head into the season and as we work through the season. And so these are the 4 things I'm going to be watching for, 3 and a possible. You know what? I will change this. I will say my 3 things is OCDC, and how that works. I will say linebackers and offensive line. Obviously, you can put whatever order you want to put because one without the other doesn't really matter. They all have to be good in order for this to work. And then I'll do my possible being health because obviously it's kind of not fair. But that is how I see it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope this is the season where everything goes well and I get to talk trash every weekend because every team I'm supporting is good.